Ever wished you could be truly unshakable? Someone who doesn't flinch at criticism, shrugs off rejection, stands tall in the face of loss, or remains unbroken by betrayal. Have you ever just dreamed of the day you could finally stop feeling that silent ache, that gnawing anguish that consumes you inside, even when you're putting on a brave face for the world? Maybe you're exhausted from constantly trying to please everyone, from upholding an image that demands relentless strength, when all you truly crave is a moment's rest, a break from the crushing pressure of appearing untouchable. But let me tell you something that perhaps no one has had the courage to truly say. As long as you try to avoid pain, it will continue to control you. As long as you attempt to numb yourself, to hide, to perpetually protect your inner world, you will remain a hostage to every external event, to the words that cut deep, to the actions that disappoint, to the silences that feel like death inside. And this isn't weakness. This is the raw reality for most of us. The only difference is, some simply pretend better than others. Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers in depth psychology, famously said, "We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become." And right there, right in that simple truth, lies the key. It's not about building a shield against the world. It's not about transforming into someone cold, indifferent, or genuinely untouchable. It's about integration. It's about consciously bringing to light everything that currently impacts you from the shadows. Because true strength isn't the absence of pain, it's the profound awareness of who you truly are, even when you're bleeding. If you've made it this far, trust me, it's not by chance. This message, this video, is for you who are tired of being hurt by everything and everyone. For you who constantly feel you're at an emotional disadvantage, as if other people wield a power over you that you just don't understand. I want to show you that it doesn't have to be this way. But to get there, you'll have to confront some truths that might sting. And perhaps, for the very first time, this pain will actually set you free. Let's dive deep. You believe that what truly hurts you is out there. It's in the actions of others, in poorly chosen words, in the abandonments you've endured, in the betrayals you never saw coming. But the truth, however brutal, is this: none of this truly has the power to destroy you, unless there's already an open wound inside you. What truly hurts isn't what others do to you. It's what those experiences activate within you. It's the story you then tell yourself about it. It's the old trauma that has never been truly addressed. It's the emptiness you desperately try to disguise with strength, with pride, with that desperate need to constantly appear well-adjusted. Jung reveals that the pain we feel in the face of the external world is often just a reflection of what has not yet been integrated into our internal world. That's precisely why some individuals can navigate devastating situations and still maintain their clarity, their core, while others crumble in the face of a simple comment. It's not about what happens, it's about where it hits you. And here comes an uncomfortable truth. You still suffer so deeply because on some fundamental level, you believe you can control how the world should treat you. You are still desperately trying to be good enough, smart enough, strong enough, understanding enough, as if that could somehow guarantee that no one will ever hurt you again. But control, my friend, is an illusion, and as long as you cling to it, you live in constant tension, trying to predict the unpredictable, trying to avoid the inevitable. Do you genuinely want to stop suffering? Then stop trying to protect yourself from suffering. What you need isn't more control, it's more awareness. As long as you believe that other people need to change for you to stop feeling pain, you will remain enslaved by their actions. Your true freedom begins the moment you understand that everything that comes from outside only has power if it finds an echo within you. And this is exactly where the true battlefield lies, the unconscious. What you do not see, do not understand, and do not master, masters you. And that's what we're going to explore in the next part. Get ready to dive one level deeper, because that's where true transformation really begins. If this content is resonating with you, if it's making sense, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and join our community. Your support genuinely makes a difference. The biggest lie you've ever been told is that you are in control of your life. Wake up, because you're not. At least, not as long as you continue living on autopilot, reacting without knowing why, feeling without understanding where it comes from, making decisions that you later mysteriously sabotage. Carl Jung made this profoundly clear when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And that is exactly what is happening to you right now. The pain you feel, the anger that erupts seemingly out of nowhere, the sadness that invades you without explanation. None of this is random. These are all urgent messages, bubbling up from parts of you that have been forgotten, ignored, repressed. Jung referred to this vast, dark territory as the unconscious, and it's not merely a cloud of vague thoughts. It is an active, living force, an entire intricate system of memories, traumas, desires, and fears that you refuse to face, but that relentlessly continue to decide what you feel and how you act. You wonder why certain words completely destroy you, while other people barely register them. It's because those words touch sensitive points within you that are still painfully alive. And if they are alive, it's because you have never truly confronted them. You've only pushed them under the psychological rug, and now you keep tripping over them. Jung said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." And what have you been doing? Judging yourself, repressing yourself, silencing yourself, as if that could solve anything. The chilling truth is, the unconscious doesn't just disappear because you ignore it. It simply finds more dangerous ways to manifest itself. In toxic relationships, you inexplicably repeat. In patterns of self-sabotage you can't break. In anxieties and fears that arise precisely when everything seems to be going well. This isn't bad luck. It is your unconscious desperately trying to wake you up, but you insist on sleeping. Do you truly want to be someone who is no longer hurt? Then stop running away from what is inside you. Because as long as you do not know your unconscious, you will remain a puppet of your own emotions. And the more you try to protect yourself from external pain, the more vulnerable you become to internal pain. But there is a way out, and it's not in defending yourself, it's in integrating yourself. Because becoming unshakable isn't an act of resistance, it is an act of deep, profound self-knowledge. This is what we will see next. What does it truly mean to be someone who is unshaken? And why does this strength not come from armor, but from acceptance? Let's continue. Most people mistakenly believe that the only way to avoid getting hurt is by closing themselves off. They build immense walls, meticulously craft masks, develop impenetrable emotional armor, and then pretend that absolutely nothing affects them. They tell themselves, "I don't care anymore. I couldn't care less. Nothing gets to me." But deep inside, they continue to bleed. They continue to corrode. Because the problem was never about feeling. The problem is not knowing what you are feeling, and more importantly, why. And this only happens to those who do not yet truly know themselves. Jung was precise when he stated, "Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when touching a human soul, be just another human soul." And that human soul you insist on hiding behind a strong, invulnerable, controlled character, it is screaming to be seen. Becoming emotionally strong has absolutely nothing to do with being cold. It has nothing to do with ignoring pain, avoiding conflict, or simply pretending not to care. It has to do with integrating, with accepting, with consciously bringing to light everything you have meticulously buried in the dark. You don't become unshakable by creating a barrier between yourself and the world. You become unshakable when you realize that no one can truly touch what has already been deeply embraced within you. When you integrate your shadows, your fears, your flaws, your insecurities, you stop reacting impulsively to everything. You observe, you choose, you are no longer an emotional puppet. And that is true freedom. Jung called this individuation, the profound process of becoming who you truly are, not what others expect of you, not what you thought you should be to be accepted, but what emerges authentically from within, from the powerful meeting of light and shadow, between ego and unconscious. Individuation is not a process of perfection, Jung said, but of integration. You don't need to become a better person. You just need to become whole. And here is the secret that no one ever told you. The more you run from pain, the more it chases you. The more you try not to be affected, the more fragile you become. But when you bravely face your own wounds, when you accept who you are with all that is beautiful and ugly, noble and shameful, nothing outside truly has the power to dismantle you. However, this path demands courage. Courage to look within. Courage to abandon the masks. Courage to feel. Because it is precisely in pain that the crucial key to transformation is hidden. And that's what we'll uncover in the next part. How suffering, far from being an enemy, can become the very gateway to your true strength. Let's dive deeper, and this time, without fear. You learn to hate pain from a very young age. You were taught that suffering is a sign of weakness, that crying is a waste of time, that feeling too much makes you vulnerable. And so, you began to run, to avoid, to deny. But the more you flee from suffering, the more relentlessly it chases you. And the worst part, it changes form. It disguises itself as anxiety, anger, apathy, profound boredom, or even self-destructive impulses that you don't even understand where they come from. Ignored pain doesn't disappear. It just digs tunnels inside you until one day, without warning, everything collapses. Jung viewed suffering in a profoundly different way. He believed that pain was the messenger of the soul, the alarm of the unconscious, the very language that the self, what you are in your entirety, uses to get your attention. He famously said, "Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't push her away. Invite her to sit down, offer her a coffee, and listen to what she has to say. But you don't listen. You silence yourself. You distract yourself. You keep yourself frantically busy. You numb yourself. You do everything to avoid looking at what truly matters. What is this pain desperately trying to show you? The truth is, suffering only hurts so much because you are still at war with yourself. There's still a part of you yearning to grow, and another part clinging desperately to keeping everything exactly as it is. There is something inside you that cries out for transformation, but your ego, accustomed to control, tries to suffocate that call. And it is in this internal friction that pain is born. Because change hurts. Growth hurts. Letting go of old beliefs hurts. Cutting toxic ties hurts. Allowing what no longer serves you to die. All of this is a mourning, an internal process of death and rebirth. But it is precisely in this sacred space of ruin that something truly new can be born. Because when everything in you is deconstructed, when certainties crumble, when pain lays bare your vulnerability, you can finally see who you really are. Without the layers of protection, without the performance, without the mask. And at that exact, precise point, suffering becomes sacred. Because it brings you to your knees before the only thing that can truly set you free, yourself. Jung knew this. He understood that suffering is not a failure of the system. It is an intrinsic part of the process. Pain is not the end of the road. It is the very beginning of the journey towards individuation. The problem is that most people give up before crossing that dark valley. They flee. They distract themselves. They return to the surface. But not you. If you have made it this far, it is because you are ready to cross. And in the next part, we will understand how this crossing process truly happens, how the path of individuation, no matter how lonely and brutal it may seem, is what finally sets you free. Let's continue. It's getting deeper now. Few people possess the courage to even begin the journey of individuation, and even fewer have the tenacity to complete it. Because this path doesn't promise comfort. It doesn't offer guarantees. It doesn't protect your ego. On the contrary, it destroys it. Jung referred to individuation as a process of becoming who you are, but this means, above all, unlearning what you think you are. And that, my friend, hurts more than any external rejection. Because you begin to realize that much of what defined you until now was in essence an illusion. You are not your achievements. You are not your traumas. You are not the meticulously constructed image you built to be loved, respected, or admired. All of this was what you created merely to survive. But surviving is not living, and individuation is life's profound call beyond survival. It is when the unconscious finally begins to push everything that has been repressed, hidden, and distorted to the surface. Individuation requires the dissolution of the persona, Jung wrote, for it is merely a mask of collective convenience. In other words, you will need to tear off your own skin to discover what truly lies beneath. It is in this raw process that you begin to become unshakable, not because nothing affects you anymore, but because you have already courageously gone through the fire. You have faced your monsters. You have looked into the eyes of your shame, your neediness, your anger, and profoundly declared, "I see you, and you no longer control me." It is this internal clarity, this profound lucidity in the face of your own darkness, that gives you a strength that does not depend on external approval, recognition, or control. You no longer need to be universally loved. You no longer need to win every single argument. You no longer need to constantly appear strong. Because you know who you are, down to your core, and absolutely no one can ever take that away from you. True emotional armor isn't a rigid shell. It is a luminous core. It is the complete integration of all your parts into a center of consciousness that remains unshaken in the face of life's fiercest storms. You may still feel pain, but it does not break you. You may be hurt, but you do not lose yourself, because you have stopped being merely reactive and have become whole. You have stopped living on the surface and have begun to inhabit the liberating depths. However, this depth comes at a price: loneliness. Not because you will be truly alone, but because few people can genuinely accompany you on this profound journey. Most are still trapped on the surface, behind their masks, in their fear of feeling. And when you begin to free yourself, you inevitably start to distance yourself from those who cannot or will not join you. But this distancing isn't rejection. It is maturation. You don't distance yourself out of pride. You distance yourself because you no longer fit where you once hid. And this brings us to the final, crucial point of this journey: consciousness as a shield. Because it is not strength that protects you, it is clarity. This is what we will discuss in the very last part. Consciousness as the only state in which nothing, absolutely nothing, has more power over you. Let's finish this crossing together. We are almost there. Now that you've journeyed this far, there is something that needs to be said very, very clearly. Nothing, absolutely nothing, will truly shield you from external suffering if you remain unconscious of what happens within you. The words will continue to hurt. The rejections will continue to sting. The losses will keep bringing you to your knees until you awaken. And awakening is not a magical, one-time event. It is a daily, conscious choice. It is looking within, even when it aches. It is taking radical responsibility for everything you feel, without blaming others, the past, or some abstract fate anymore. Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." You have spent your whole life resisting the fear of not being enough, the emptiness of rejection, the deep pain of loneliness, the anguish of not feeling seen. But what did you truly do with that resistance? You hid. You silenced yourself. You tried to control everything. You tried to be perfect. You tried to be strong. And all of this has brought you right here, exhausted, tired of fighting against the world and against yourself. But now you know, true emotional immunity isn't hardness. It is clarity. It's not about creating armor. It is about expanding your awareness. Because when you truly understand your triggers, your patterns, your deepest wounds, the actions of others fundamentally lose the power to destroy you. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still suffer, but you don't lose yourself. And that changes absolutely everything. What truly shields you isn't protecting yourself from life. It is diving into it deeply. Those who live only on the surface get buffeted by any wave. Those who bravely dive know that there is silence, stability, and immense power down below. And that is exactly where you're headed. And when you start to live from that profound place of integration, presence, and radical acceptance, the world may still try to knock you down, but it no longer finds where to hit you. If this video touched you in some way, if something within you has profoundly awakened, write here in the comments, "I choose awareness." Let's begin a movement of people who no longer want to survive by pretending to be strong, but who choose to live with radical truth. And don't forget, the next video is also a crucial part of this continuous journey. It's important. You need to keep going. Real transformation only begins when you don't stop at the very first step. See you there.